Do you think the government is trying to suppress us?
Why do you ask that? Is that like a concern of yours? Like, are you concerned
Well,
about that?
am I concerned? I mean, I kind of see it in life. The things
Well,
that they do. They make it harder for you, to buy food and stuff like that.
why do you think, like, goal purpose wise? Because okay, if you're leadership and you're at the top of the line like that, you're like hierarchy wise, like they're at the top. Why would you do that to people? Like, what would be your goal in like suppression? Well, I
Well,
mean, I know you've seen it in like history, but maybe you're asking more like, do you think the government is trying to make us weak as a society?
it's like power and control of a lot of people. And like a lot of the times I think people think they'll benefit more by suppressing others, but I just don't think that's necessarily true. It might be like a quicker gratification. Like at first you might
It's
get
it's not true if they realize that they're doing it to them.
right.
You know what I mean? So I think, you know what, Ethan, to answer your question, I absolutely think that big corporations and big government, like whoever's pulling the strings, man, I think for sure, to a certain
The deep
degree,
state.
maybe it's not like super extreme, like I think. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I think there might be some intentional weakening of society. And you can even look at that like, okay, from an evolutionary standpoint and just like biological standpoint, the best goal for most organisms and like humans are included in this, like your best goal in life is to reproduce and have offspring. But no, it's yeah, but I don't know if you knew this, Ethan. Fertility rates have been dropping at a very alarming rate. Have you looked at the statistics at all?
I've heard about them. I've heard that
You've
they're
heard
it's like
about them, and it's
well,
like,
and that's the thing. I don't think like people are. I don't think like it's like they're doing things to do it. I think it's like the ideology that people have nowadays. It's like I don't want to have kids because I can't afford
no, no, it's not that though. It's like people are trying to have kids, but they are infertile and they can't have kids.
infertile.
Yes, like
Well,
their gamete cells are like unable to produce children. Like they find this out, and like studies have been like testing people for it. Yep. Um, and they're actually predicting, Ethan. Now, this might be a little skewed because you got to think like the population by this time will be like, you know, like higher in older population, like geriatric um population has been rising because like healthcare has been getting better. People
yeah.
think
So do you think it's like medical? Do you think it's a medical? Because here's the thing: I never have looked into
well,
the research behind it.
they're saying by within this century, so like you know 2100 AD, over 50% of the population is going to be infertile, cannot have children.
Really?
You know, that's
No, I've never heard of that statistic.
right.
Wow.
Wait,
What
it's
study
higher
is it?
than
You
that.
know what study this
It
is?
said it's higher. I watched a video on it. Um, I can't remember her name. It might be. I think it actually was. There's this woman. She was talking to Jordan Peterson about it and why she thinks this is, and she was pointing at like, okay, if healthcare has been like increasingly becoming better over time, why are we seeing this in like the goal, like reproduction, like an absolute goal of life? Like, why are we seeing that drop so drastically? If that's like,
Well, okay, so you're looking at it from a medical standpoint. I think it's like one of two things. I think, or both of them actually. I think it could be the medical thing. I haven't done the research on that, so I'm not too confident on it. But I think it's a lot of like ideologies. If you look at people, especially our age, like there's not too many people our age that have kids. Like 50, 60 years ago, people around 21 to 23 would have been having kids at this time. Like this was the prime
right?
time to have
Well,
kids.
that's another thing, Ethan. Okay, so yeah, the ID, I like
Different ideologies. Like yeah, a lot of them are like,
they've been shifting, and like,
you know,
who do you think has caused that shift?
well,
That is not common.
who
Humanity
has
has
the
never
most
thought
power?
this way.
Who has the most power over ideologies? The media. The media has
Big
the most.
corporation, big government. I think they're pulling the strings, and you know why they want to do that? Okay, so population control, you could argue that for one
Right.
thing. Overall control over us, I think that's what they want.
Right.
And
Well, I think, yeah, overall control, and it's so okay. Actually, oh man, I don't. This train's gonna mess up the audio, but whatever.
Oh, man.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
We'll pause for a second here.
Full pause.
Yep, quick pause. It's probably pretty loud train that we're out in nature. We're trying to get you guys video, but we're having a hard time with some of the equipment. I mean, I'm gonna be able to edit out, but regardless, I thought about it. Why would they want to lower the population?
If that is their intent.
No, I think, okay, so I was looking at it like this. If they lower the population, then it like leaves more room for businesses. It's like think about it like this. What the reason you do like chemotherapy is so you could start killing off the weak cells. So if you lower the population, you kill off the weak businesses so that larger businesses could take over because they could survive a population collapse versus small business can't survive a population collapse.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but like they should have no right to do that. And even if they're doing it in a subtle way, like I think we're seeing with like BTPA, like plastics and water. So that's one thing I would say, like artificial food dyes and food. Like I'm not a nutritionist, but I know for a fact, like you should not be ingesting things into your body that are like labeled as
Right.
carcinogenic. And we're eating this on a daily basis in like the majority of Americans, which like our healthcare system is technically like the most evolved in the world. I mean, that's what they say, you know, like we put a lot of money into it and a lot of time.
I mean,
Americans are eating an ultra processed diet that has a lot of those artificial dyes and has like so many harsh chemicals that are affecting gamete cells,
right.
or not even just gamete cells, cells throughout your whole body. So think of your nerve cells, which like compose your brain.
Right.
I think that's another, you know, the brain. If we're looking at the neurological system, I think they're trying to really suppress that too. Like you can even look at that.
Well, yeah, because then you're suppressing the way people think. I think
Yeah, you turn them into like sheep. I think like
zombies,
yeah,
consumer zombies.
yeah. You remember we were talking about our first podcast. We were hitting this a bit. The instant gratification that we get from like short video reels that you see on like a lot of media platforms, like, and how they're bad for like your long-term like memory retention. And studies have been like showing that in the majority of the population, like attention span's been dropping like drastically too. And not only like a attention span, but just kind of like mental focus as a whole.
Well, yeah, like okay, so I want to bring it back to the point of like the business standpoint. I think that's really what it is because we are living in the largest game of Monopoly in the world. The world is
That's how you
participating.
see it.
Yeah, well, 100%. I mean, if you don't see it that way, then you're blind to what's
Well, maybe they've already got you if you don't see it that way.
yeah,
In a way,
they don't
like-
they don't want you to see it that way. They don't want you to see it how it really is, which is it's just everybody's trying to make money and money, money equates to power. So
People keep trying to gain more now, more and more.
But yeah,
for sure.
like I said, I think what they're trying to do
It's like a lot. It's a greed and a lust for power
right.
and money.
Yes, exactly. So like no, but like have you ever heard of the study that shows like if you fast for a week, it lowers your chances of getting cancer by
Oh, there's so much.
amount?
I was actually watching a video, and it might have been the same video you watched. I think it was one of the guests Joe Rogan had on, and he was claiming like, well, I'm not like a nutrition person, I'm not I don't study that, but I know when I fast, like I feel best energy levels wise, like my energy levels do not tank and they're steady, and I'm able to focus more than like people that are always feeling like more hungry because they're eating ultra processed food and they always got to eat like every 2 hours. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I got a snack. I don't feel quite full yet, but I've ate, thousands of calories today. Why do I not feel full?
Right.
I mean, like double the American recommended amount. But just another thing that I think is
Well, yeah, and I think that they put the chemicals in there so you buy more because you get hungry quicker and you buy it more. But like, so like I'm using that analogy to show, okay, so if we decrease the population, what's going to happen? These big businesses like BlackRock, Vanguard are going to see small businesses as potential cancer cells because they have the potential to rise up and get big enough to take over the economy, right? So if they go through a fast or a population decrease, that will weaken them so that they don't have the potential to gain power and control.
I see what you're saying, but I would say like the cancer, like linking small business to like cancer is
No. I'm not saying I see it that way. That's not
that's
how
how
I see it
they
at all.
see it.
That's how they see it. That's how these big businesses are going to see. They business is like a war. It's they're protecting themselves from all of their businesses taking their potential
Yeah.
clients. So they're going to look at these small businesses as you can't try and kill another like Apple is going to have a hard Apple can try and kill Microsoft, but they're not going to fully destroy it. But
Mm.
Apple can fully destroy a small tech company that's just up and coming.
Because they're living like tyrants.
Yeah, they a
All
lot
those
of times they
freaking
just buy them.
companies.
They just buy them,
Yeah.
right? They just
Well,
buy them.
I almost wonder, Ethan, if like, okay, so it's obvious that like they don't want more competition. They're trying to like limit the market.
Yeah.
That's like obvious. Like most companies do that. Like big companies, that's just the common thing they do. I know you know a lot more about that than I do, but I feel like if you look at like grand scheme of things, not even just like I want my company to not have any competition. I don't want any possibility of competition. I think just like all of like these big figureheads in the world are like, I don't know if they're meeting in a room or what,
No,
but it seems like all this stuff is so intentional. Like if you're looking at like psychologically, biologically speaking, like physically speaking, with the human body, there's so much wrong going on when it's like we have a lot of science and studies that we know that like certain carcinogenic like chemicals cause certain things.
yeah,
Or like, oh, short Instagram reels and YouTube reels cause ADHD, can cause like attention deficit disorder
right.
and like memory retention problems. But it just seems like all these things are so widespread and more widespread than they've ever been.
Yeah.
People aren't living self-sufficiently with like farms anymore. Like that's not a common thing. And if you try to live like that, you're gonna have a hard time trying to like change. They make it super hard to do that.
Well, I don't think it's like necessarily like they're sitting down in a room and meeting and saying like how do we plot against them. I think it's like they do a couple of intentional acts here and there, and it's just like everything else lines up for them. Once you get the ideology so strong, it will start growing on its own. It's like at first you got to water the seed, but eventually the rain will water the tree for you. You know what I mean?
I want to agree with you on that, but I just think, and like they're probably looking at all these studies too that are showing like infertility rates are rising, and like attention deficit disorders are rising, and other like physical problems like cancer's high. A lot of other like disorders, like pathology wise, is high. And they're looking at it, and like you think if it wasn't intentional, one of them would be like, oh, we need to kind of like change this. Like I like uh RFK. Have you heard his stance on nutrition yet?
Oh yeah, make America healthy again.
Yeah. Like he is like one of the only people I've heard in the higher ups that are like approaching this problem, even though it's so blatant. Like I'm not a very seasoned like professional person. Like I'm barely through half of my degree as a PTA.
Right.
But I know that this stuff is wrong for so many reasons, and it's like, why is no one addressing the issue? It's like there's so much like cloudiness, and I just don't understand.
Well, I think it is a lot of like there's just too much money to be made. It's a money thing.
For all of them, well, yeah, maybe it is a money thing, but it's like if you make the people, if you make the mass around you like submissible, and you make them weaker, both mentally and physically weaker, it's going to be easier to control them.
Yeah.
And I think that's exactly what they're doing.
Right. And no, well,
If
I
you
agree.
keep it all together,
I think maybe, maybe,
maybe.
but I think you can almost
Dude, even down to the like tap water.
right. I think you can almost certainly say with high certainty that they do the things that they do in order to make money. But it's dumb money, it really is. They don't know what they're doing. It's if they were to go and help and do the best healthcare they can, that would in turn provide them with a higher return than what they have now. So I think the reason that they stay where they are.
No. I disagree. No, with
Well,
healthcare.
yeah.
No, like okay. So if that was like totally true, they would definitely opt into more preventative type, like teaching the patient proper like diet and exercise and like really emphasizing
Right,
like,
but
okay,
that's what,
why is this movement so good?
yeah.
Like they're not doing that though. It's just I don't know. Like more money is being spent on the treating side of pathology than the preventing side.
Right.
And I
And
think
well,
that's
that's
where
like that's what I'm trying to say is like if they take a shift into the prevention side of things,
they're going to lose the money.
they'll initially lose more money, but over time, I think it will provide
No.
higher return.
Well, that's the thing. They would most healthcare would probably lose all of it because it would just like collapse because the people wouldn't need it anymore.
Yeah.
Because they're self-taught, like except for, obviously people that are of older. What do you just start out?
What do you
More-
think the max age limit is?
Oh, have you seen? I know there's this guy,
Brian.
this man on YouTube. He looks like he's like younger than 20.
Brian
He's
Dawson?
actually, yep, Brian.
Yes,
Johnson. How old is he actually?
I think he's in his 50s.
He's like maybe low 50s, but he looks super young. And he's claiming he wants to live how long? 120 years?
He is yeah, he wants to live as long. He wants to live forever.
He's claiming
He wants
he wants to be remembered after he dies for hundreds of years. And he thinks if he can absolutely control everything in his life, from the moment he wakes up, he experiments with like lighting technique for his sleep, so he gets good deep sleep.
Yeah.
Vitamins wise, he
does.
I mean, he takes so many vitamins.
Oh, he's spending millions. And well, that's the thing. It is interesting to see. It will be interesting to see what age he actually reaches. But I've also heard, I don't know where I saw this at, but like I've heard that the first person to live to 1,000 is alive today. I don't know if that seems like a little bit of a stretch, but I think we can see a 200-year-old come.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's hard when you look at longevity and you look at what the Bible says about it. In the days that directly fall, like right after man fell and like sin was brought into the world, people still lived a while. They lived like the hundreds, the effects of years. Yeah, people, theologians, they theorize that was because the effects of sin hadn't fully kicked in yet. Like pathology and what it is, we're not in the world yet. People were still slightly more pure than we are today.
Right. And I think I 100% agree, because I think that people were just, if it's true that they lived for hundreds of years, and I'd like to believe that it's true. I think they were just more in tune with themselves, with, spiritually, and like you said, sin. So that
Staying away from sin.
right, and so that induced less stress.
Yeah.
And I think stress, Dallas, I think stress is the number one killer. Number one.
Yeah.
Out of all of it. Stress.
It's anxiety too. I mean, they go like hand in hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, if you look pathology wise, stress is known to raise blood pressure over like long extended periods of time, highly, like very high. And if your blood pressure is always above what it should normally be for your body for that long of a time, there's going to be so much. Now, I'm not like, I'm not a doctor, but I know it's going to place stress on all your other organs in your bodies, like especially your heart, kidneys, which are like the driving factor for like pumping your blood and filtering toxins. And if those like stop working and they start to break down, everything else is gonna degenerate.
Yeah.
So,
And also, yeah, like it also reduces sleep. Sleep
well,
critical. You know,
yeah,
you're
sure.
stressed out, you can't sleep.
That's why, like, Brian Johnson, that's his name, right?
Yeah.
He's been prioritizing his sleep like he does. Maybe he doesn't know it. He probably does know it, but like,
Well, no,
sleep is gonna reduce cortisol. Cortisol is the stress hormone.
Yeah.
And well, that's another statistic you can look into. Cortisol is very high right now.
like
And like,
just in general in people.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, it is. That's another one.
Hmm.
I don't have the exact statistics, but I know that is also a case. And people have been linking that with the overwhelming anxiety that
And
could
you know
be
what I think it is?
coming about with like the short reels. Like people, okay, people have been spending so much time on that. I don't know how much time exactly, like the worldwide average, but I know like certain friends or certain students that are on it for hours a day.
Right.
And it's like, okay, so instead of going out and doing and living what you want to live, they're watching people do it, but they're not really watching
They're
them.
not
They're watching a 30-second video, skip,
skipping through.
and it's like they feel like, I mean, maybe it's like subconsciously they feel like an overwhelming like, why am I not doing this? Like all this anxiety is flowing them like what am I doing right now? Like, and they just feel like they
And
have to keep
here's
up.
what it is, Dallas.
Here's
Here's what
gotta listen to their own
right.
mind.
Here's what it is. I think a lot of the times when people get stressed, it's due to uncertainty in their life. They don't have a goal, a purpose that they're striving toward every day that provides them with progress. And I, like you said,
Mm,
overall,
yeah,
in the whole collective society, stress has gone up. The stress hormone has gone up. And you know
yeah,
what I think it is? I think it's a lack of collective goal. Like we as a species, like what are we doing? You know what I mean? Like
that
back in the
people are so lost
they're lost. And back in the
nowadays.
back in the 40s, right? The collective goal was to beat the number one enemy, the Nazis, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
people were less
Humans
stressed.
were very goal centered and like let's beat evil, like, and they were very Bible oriented too, which
Yep.
also helps with finding your calling and your goals.
Yeah.
But I'll go to school sometimes, and sometimes I'm very intentional when I talk to people. It's a bit of a flaw of mine because it's like, why can't you just live like normally and just not have to always like look into things so deep? But that's what I do. But I get very intentional with them. I'm like, why are you here? Or I ask very specific questions like, hey, why did you show up to this class today, but you skipped it the other day? Like, I like to find their rationales.
Yeah.
And sometimes, man, I'm just like kind of frightened that these young adults are just, they have no clue.
Yeah, they don't have a clue, but like I think that is to do with like there is no collective goal. I think, and me personally, I think this is what the collective goal should be: expansion. Everything and anything is constantly expand. The universe is expanding, right? So I
Sure.
think if we can have the media eventually push the ideology of expansion as a species, and that's our goal, is to expand
Well,
outward throughout the universe and take over the universe, I think we can get very far. And I think you would see a decrease in cortisol levels because that gives everybody a purpose.
there's like a unified feeling of, well, not just goal, like a unified feeling of plan and like, okay, this is the action. This is like smart goals,
Yeah.
smart being, um, the S in smart, specific, M being measurable, A, A being attainable, R would be, reasonable, and
Yeah.
T like timely.
Okay.
So like people are subconsciously, they don't even know it, like consciously they don't know it, but subconsciously the human mind is craving smart goals and
Yeah.
they want to achieve them. So, but instead of doing that, people nowadays they're being like led astray by like social media and I think food probably has a like nutrition probably has a play in like the fact that people are so just jittery and anxiety filled today, but they go on social media and they watch people that are achieving their goals. Now, maybe not, I don't know like what specific goals, but it's like, oh, if I'm watching someone, I can live like vicariously through them. but they are not at all. Not only that, they are doing it like when you go on YouTube and you start like your short reel like extravaganza,
Right.
you might see 30 different like professions
Yeah.
and people living their professions.
Well, it's
And your brain is thinking you're doing all that, but then as soon as you turn it off, you're left with your thoughts.
right.
And then people freak out.
Yeah, I think of it. It is. Yeah, they freak out.
I
'cause
get
they don't.
that.
They can't think.
Do you
I
have you had that feeling?
No, I get what's called shiny object syndrome. I will see a thing and I'll be like, I want to do that. And then I'll go do it for like a week and then I'll lose interest because I'll see something else on a reel and I'll be like, wait, so I want to do that. And then I'll do it for a week, and the cycle repeats.
You can like pull yourself out of it. I think most people can't do that though.
Even get started.
They don't have the self-control to stop, and it's almost like a drug. Well, that's another thing with
is
like,
a drug.
okay, if we were looking at big government, like I know the Democratic Party and like Kamala especially, they want to make the use of drugs easier for people. No, not all specific drugs, but I know like marijuana is one. And it's like, sure, there's benefits to it.
And you know what's interesting about marijuana, and I think this like backs up your thesis or whatever your theory that larger corporations, larger governments are trying to suppress us. So if you smoke marijuana, what does it do to you? It makes you lazy and complacent. And those
Exactly.
two things right there will destroy somebody's chances of being successful.
Any chance you have of like being able to plant your own roots into the ground and say like, no, it's like gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, whatever, man. Like, let me just have a good time.
Yeah.
It's just the government, I think, wants people to be so focused on like the now and just like, yeah, feel good now. You know what I mean?
Right.
Until like you're like, I don't know, I'd call it like the Dragon of Chaos shows his face like in the near future.
Yeah. What do you think? I see. That's the thing. Like, can we say it's government, or can we, or is it corrupt doctors?
What do you
want to make money?
the entity behind it?
And you know what it could be? It couldn't. It could be not
I don't
even
know,
a
we should talk
single.
about it.
What do
You
you?
know what I mean?
Why?
It's such a frightening like topic. Like,
What is frightening? That's why exactly why we
they
talk about it. Who? This
wherever they are.
And here's the thing.
Is it
I don't-
spirits? You know?
Um,
I would say like, well, I know for
I
a
would-
fact that like,
Here's what it
this
is.
but
I
go
would
ahead.
say it is because spirits, maybe even demons, have a control over collective sectors of the human consciousness.
Okay.
As a whole, right? So you just see these things that are happening like all in line with each other, and it's like it's so complex
Can you pin it down?
that it's almost like you can't. It's almost like it couldn't have been orchestrated by a human. That's what I'm saying. It's
Yeah.
like
so by a group of humans. Yeah,
that
totally.
it's so unbelievably complex that it's only like a higher power
I agree.
could have done.
But it's like,
something
it is in the world though. So it's like, okay, maybe, okay, these demonic forces are literally using these like higher up peoples as vessels to
Yeah.
make these things happen.
Yeah.
And until, I don't know how close we really are to the days of Armageddon and the days of like what was said in Revelations, but I almost see this as a sign that they're trying to make way for what could be the literal Antichrist.
Yeah. Yeah. I could see it. I could see it for sure.
That's
Because because like if you look at the things that happen in Revelations, it's like that stuff. It would take time to ideologically change the people and make them align with those beliefs. So yeah, I've thought
like
about
the
that.
days of Babylon.
It could be the start of it.
Yeah.
The start of the end. But
Okay.
yeah, I mean, I haven't delved too deeply into Revelation, so I don't know.
Definitely look into it. Like, I think nowadays is probably, one of the best times to read it because honestly, like, and the way I see things and how they're churning. Now, I'm thankful that a president like Trump got into office because I think, this may be a little biased, but I think he stands for values that are more of God than any of the other politicians right now.
Yeah.
But I think if you're looking at the way things are churning and like the presence of evil is high, then the presence of like sinful acts is high.
Yeah. Okay.
Any day now,
So
maybe.
you know, you're a little bit, you have more medical knowledge than me. What do you think is the best way to live if you're trying to increase your longevity? Just as a
I
like,
want to go on to that.
yeah, if
Well,
you're a viewer.
like you were talking about it earlier, like you think ways of sin generally can like cause people to like die quicker because we were talking about um like the days of Genesis, like when people lived hundreds of years.
Right, right, right. But
And
like,
and
I mean,
we're
in
less
in the
than. But
in the physical realm, like, what would you suggest to them? Exercise? You know, what kind of exercise would you
well,
recommend?
yeah, I mean, exercise for sure is good. But
Mhm.
let's talk about just works, you know? Like okay, so the Bible outlines 7 deadly sins that you need to stay away from. And every I would argue every like minor sin, major sin fits into one of these categories. The categories would be gluttony, lust, greed, anger, pride, and there's 2 more. I'm trying to think here. No, not envy. Sloth is one.
Yeah.
And but no, like if you stay away from this, okay, so like specific to like what people think about health and like diet and exercise, gluttony and sloth, right? They're both in the Bible, they're one of the 7. So they're very important.
Yeah.
And it's those 2 things are like kind of okay, so like sloth would be like general like laziness and like not wanting to do. So not even like exercise, but just go out and work, you know, help people around you.
Yeah, I think it is like a lot about, you know, completing your goals, like setting goals and completing them. Even if like you thought they were stupid after you started, I think just completing them, because it's like every time that I complete something
Complete something, you know.
that I like, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna put my mind to it and I'm gonna get this finished right now. And then I actually finish it. I feel great, amazing, unbelievably amazing
Yeah.
afterwards. But like every time that I start a goal, start something, and I don't finish it, I end up feeling terrible. I spiral
You know
into
what?
darkness.
You know what?
You know.
I think the biggest enemy to longevity is comfort.
Yeah.
Is that a take or what?
I'd say,
No,
but here's the thing:
why? Like
comfort
you
isn't so comfortable.
not for long.
Not
It's like
for long.
there is true comfort. Like if you abide in God and His like path for you, you will find like real long long term like comfort.
Damn. See,
But I'm talking about like short term gratification comfort.
yeah, that's false comfort.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, just
Trying to get the
thinking,
dopamine high right now. I just want it right now. You know what I mean?
even thinking right now about like complete and true comfort, just has endorphins flowing in my mind.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like just thinking about like completing a goal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because you know it's gonna be good once you have it done.
Yeah.
But
But how do you, okay, and that's the thing. I notice myself, and it's almost like I'm bipolar. I notice myself going into these stages in life where I am like, okay, I'm gonna complete everything and I'm gonna do them on time, and I'm gonna do the things right. And I do for a while, like a month or two. And then I switch. Boom. Like it's like, and I notice journaling helps a lot, but there's also always like one catalyst, one moment that switches it all around. It's really weird. Like something bad will happen in that day and it will just like cause an instant spiral
hmm,
to it. It's like, you know what I mean? I think it
a
happens.
setback can be like very like
Yeah.
hard to take.
Yeah, it's hard. It's insane how hard it is, how much it causes me personally. I don't know if it's like that for everybody, but
There's a lot of people. I mean, well, it depends like what kind of a setback. Like how far back do you need to be like set back in order to be like, oh, this is just
well,
hopeless.
let's say say I'm at work and I say something stupid to somebody, and then I'll like go home. Like I'll be in, so let's say for like that month, I'm in a great mindset.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's like these endorphins are flowing in my mind and I'm getting everything done because I have the dopamine storages to actually complete the task. Right.
Hmm.
And then I'll go to work or I'll go somewhere. I'll see something stupid. I'll do something stupid. And that's all I'll think about. It's like that negative thought process takes over. And then I think that like reduces the amount of endorphins, reduces the amount of dopamine in my mind. So
Huh.
I have an incapability of completing the tasks. See what I'm saying?
Wow.
Because like
Yeah.
that's what it is. Dopamine is like the gas that allows you to do things. They've done studies on rats where they took the dopamine out of them and they wouldn't even eat. They wouldn't even eat. You know what I mean?
So you think you need dopamine before you even do anything. So that's like,
Yeah.
people talk about,
Even
okay, going back to like goal setting, like you're very focused on that as a person. I think that's a great thing.
Yeah.
And like people that are goal setters say it is not good to be reliant on motivation, but to be reliant on what's the term I'm looking for? Consistency. So just like waking up every day, like, oh, being in that grind set. But you kind of lose that enthusiasm in that. So, but you think you need that.
what?
You absolutely need, like, okay,
You need
I kind of relate
dopamine?
dopamine to enthusiasm.
Well,
And dopamine it's kind of like a motivation spark.
here's the thing. Dopamine is it's weird. You have to look into it. I've definitely looked into it.
Yeah.
With like I said, the study with rats, it's like they release the dopamine before they even get the reward. Dopamine comes before the reward. Dopamine is not the reward. You know what I mean? This is why, like,
I didn't know, like,
on Kurt, like before
you think there's an
the
initial,
anticipation is the high. Like when you're anticipating something, you're getting those the release of dopamine into your mind. So that's what
you think that's
encourage
better than
you-
the after?
it is. No, it is. Seriously, you look into it. And this is why the rats won't even eat the food, because it's not the food that gives them the dopamine, or it's the dopamine that gives them the food.
Like the dopamine, like initial
Honestly,
release.
I think I heard. I don't know. I heard it on some video.
Before it's even done, like a good act.
Yeah.
Like, well, like exercise. Like, you think there's more dopamine released right before you exercise.
Yeah.
Than right when you're done.
Because dopamine's not the reward. Dopamine is the pusher to the reward. You know what I mean?
You think that's what its function is?
I
don't know.
I'm almost positive.
Wow.
I think.
There's some like good like endocrine study there. You know,
Yeah.
Like
I'll have to look.
that hormone.
Yeah.
I-
I'll have to
That
kind of
being the driving factor.
study to these.
Well, I don't know. Like, okay, like how I know, like, okay, action driving wise in your body, the central nervous system is like the driving factor. Where does dopamine fit into that? Did they talk about that in what you're researching? Like,
What do you mean?
Is dopamine? I know you're talking about, like, okay, adrenaline is what I would consider like a driving factor in doing something.
I think adrenaline gets released after.
No, I don't.
Well, it can
don't
get
think
released
that-
after and before. But like I'm almost positive that dopamine is what is pushing you to do the task itself.
Hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. I'm there might be a bit of that for sure. Like it, because I guess you've got to kind of be in a positive area of thought in order to even get the ball rolling. If you're already at a spot of nihilism and a spot of hopelessness, it's like, why would you even start rolling? You know?
Yeah.
Ball's gonna soften. It's like, there's no point in that. If you're looking at like the nihilist perspective, which I don't know.
Hold on.
But yeah,
Wait. I'm not looking at it. What do you? Hold on. Wait. I'm looking it up.
like take a look, because I think dopamine. Now there might be a bit.
This is a Harvard study. Dopamine can provide an intense feeling of reward. Hold on. Dopamine is most notably involved in feeling of shopping. What?
So what did you find?
Hold on. Wait, it's making me. Where is dopamine produced? It's not really giving me the answer I want.
Right.
Yeah. Anticipation. Dopamine is released when the brain anticipates a reward. The amount of dopamine released increases the unpredictability of the reward. For example, the anticipation of receiving a package online creates a dopamine release.
So you're talking about the anticipation.
Is the release
Okay.
of dopamine.
So let's say you did something really hard. So it's not going to be right before you do that thing that's really, well, maybe a bit, but it's probably like, wow, it's probably like right when you get, okay, so when you get done with the hard thing, it's like, oh, now I'm probably going to get a reward because I just did that hard thing.
Right.
Like that's
But
when
I don't
you
think
will
it's-
get a lot.
Yeah. No. Dallas, I'm telling you, because like the dopamine gets released before. We'll have to just look into this thing
Yeah.
more because we both
Yeah.
are both going off of air here, so and it's like,
Yeah.
But either way, dopamine is released when you anticipate something.
I just wish people were thinking more like this nowadays and not being sucked into like the machine. Like we were kind of talking about in
Yeah.
the beginning.
Well, either way,
I see it. It's like a machine.
even if it's not true, it doesn't really matter because for me, I look at it that way. So I'm looking at it from a first principles point of view about my like mindset and how to change the chances that I'll complete tasks. So if I look at it from that standpoint,
People could like take that home.
yeah,
with them,
that's
you
what
know
I'm saying.
I mean?
Like it's like a first principles mindset.
It's almost like
a framework of
manifesting,
thinking.
manifesting the one before it even happened. And
Yeah.
then you think the body's intentional in releasing that initial amount of dopamine to kind of get the ball rolling.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's less to do that, and it's more like a tool for me. So I look at it like this. So if I look at it like, okay, this certain thing will help increase the amount of dopamine that I get. So if that increases the dopamine, then that will increase the chances of me completing the tasks. Because that's what I'm always trying to figure out how to do is how do I increase the probability that I will complete the task at hand?
And that could be a driving factor for sure.
Yeah.
Make it, make it easy before you even get started. Set yourself up for like success. That's like super crucial nowadays.
Yeah, I know it is. It is.
People are being set up for the opposite.
Yeah.
We're kind of taken away.
Wow. Yeah.
But yeah, guys, like, if you're at home and like, we definitely gave you a lot of conspiracy like takes, but
It's definitely a longer
be a
thought.
little bit more aware of like how things are affecting you. How
Yeah.
things are affecting you physically and psychologically speaking, like energy levels, like definitely kind of be more reflective on that. I think you'll find a better self in that process.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think we're coming to the end of the pod. I really hope the audio turns out well. I mean, there might have been a part, and I apologize for, if there is a bad part. But yeah, I think that's it.
Yep. Thanks for tuning on, guys. Until next time, take care.